Hello traders, welcome to the end of the week trade recap plus forecast. Market is range bound or descending, however you want to call it. It's not trending. So as a trend trader, market is very slow. It happens most of the time the markets are slow. Again, 70% of the time the markets will be range bound. I believe that is the statistic. But we're doing the analysis anyway. Things can change very quickly. Only in a couple of hours we can get a setup on the 1 hour chart. We only need 5 or 6 candles. So this is EU and it's moving very descending, but not really in such a clean descending as I would like it to be. So what I mean when I say clean descending, I mean the move's getting smaller and smaller, and the price only breaking the lows, not breaking the highs. So for me, that's a clean descending. Here we had, well, it is breaking the lows, but then we have these sort of deep pullbacks back to the upside. So it's kind of moving in a descending channel. And I do expect this to reverse, don't get me wrong. And again, you can see this sort of erratic price action that kind of breaks the whole descending structure. I am expecting this to reverse, but I would like to see a bit more of a defined descending channel, let me say. So how that would look like? Well, if it just breaks the low maybe a couple more times with small price action, so something like this, and then reverses, yeah, I would be very happy to either get in on a reversal or maybe on a continuation. So maybe somewhere here or here, anywhere in this uptrend in the opposite direction. Now that's not a bad sign. As I said, it's descending, and if it reverses, then that reversal, then this uptrend is very high probability. So that's not the rule, it's just the probabilities are that this will reverse up. But as we know, we can also get a flat range here. If that happens, well, then the whole descending channel is negated. Then I'm looking for a large impulse up or a large impulse down. Or we can get a descending, or sorry, not a descending, but we can get a large impulse to a downside, such as this one. In which case I would look to sell. That is a characteristic of the euro pairs, where it kind of descends or ascends and then impulses in the same direction. Usually we end up getting a nice trade, so that is also on my radar. Was I looking for a trade anywhere here? I was not. Even here, maybe some of you looked to sell after this impulse. I was not looking to sell. This impulse by itself was not enough for me to look for a trade. So I did stay out of any setups that formed after this impulse. And yeah, then we just retraced heavily, broke the low, retraced, broke the low, retraced again, and are now ranging. Moving on, EJ, it looks worse. So here we had a really clean ascending. That is what I mean by a clean ascending. So the moves are getting smaller and smaller, the pullbacks are getting smaller and smaller, and it's just breaking the highs, but unfortunately we did not get a setup. Instead, price just ranged around heavily and then started descending right here. Then it kind of broke the structure, so no real commitment, no real momentum to the downside or to the upside, and now it's moving from a descending into a bit of an ascending channel. So by looking at this, I am expecting a larger range in this area. In which case, of course, I'm not looking for a trade. As a trend trader, I want to be looking for a large impulse up or a large impulse down. So a large push up, flag or a break and they retest. Or a large impulse down, flag or a break and they retest. So for EJ, just not clean enough. Not looking good. AU, well, same as EJ. Just more range bound than descending. I'm not really seeing what I want to be seeing. So it was descending here. This price action was in a nice descending, but then it broke the structure, broke the low, broke the structure again. Same as EU after this impulse. It was a clean close, but it wasn't enough. So just this impulse by itself is not enough for me to sell, and I wasn't looking for a trade. And yeah, broke the structure, broke the low, and now broke the low again, broke the low again. So potential for the descending to clean up. If it does, I will look to get in on a reversal. So if this happens, I will of course look to get in on a reversal or potentially get in on the uptrend. So if we get something like this and then we get a push up, break and retest in the uptrend, that is extremely high probability for the Aussie US dollar. It does most of the time work out, and I'll be in the trade if it happens, of course. We can also get a V reversal here, in which case I'm looking for a range push up and then to buy. What I expect is, because now is Friday, I'm only trading for a couple more hours until 5 p.m. London time, and next week we're starting with Monday and Tuesday, which are predominantly range-bound days. I'm expecting something like this, to be honest. Now, the least likely scenario, but of course anything can happen, is that we get an impulse down, in which case I would look for an established trend and I would look to sell on a break and retest, possibly a nice flag if it's a large move down. So that's about it for AU. AJ, very bad, very range bound. So at this point I was looking to get in on a setup. Setup did not form, unfortunately. What happened, we got a momentum shift, broke the low, retraced, so very poor price action. So this is just dirty price action and I'm not looking for a setup. I'm not even seeing a defined descending, I'm just seeing range bound price action. If I see pure range bound price action, I'm just looking for a large impulse up, or of course a large impulse to a downside like this. So that's about it for AJ. Nothing clever to say about this pair. Again, this is the period where the markets are range bound. It does happen. Last year we did have these months with 0 trades, maybe even a negative month. So those forecasts and trade recaps tend to be a bit boring and the market is not active, but those are the times where you get tested as a trader. If you can follow your plan, if you can avoid taking the losses. Most people cannot avoid taking the losses and then they lose all of the profits in these range bound periods. So this is where real trading happens. This is where you get tested the most, I would say. And this is where most people change strategies and start thinking about new strategies. I know it definitely happened to me. After a slow period last year, I was definitely looking at other setups and starting to see how other strategies worked. But I quickly noticed it was not the right way to approach trading and got back to my strategy, got back to backtesting and got back to refining my edge. So this is where the real traders are made. If you can stick through the slow periods, then you can become consistently profitable. The pound US dollar range bound descending also, not really a clean descending, and I don't trade reversals on the pound. I only trade from an established trend. So basically what I'm looking for here is maybe more of a descending and then for an uptrend to start, which I do expect, and then a trade like this. So at this point, I was expecting this to reverse up because I have noticed patterns, market patterns, where you get a push up, then you get a descending and then price continues. Then you get a descending deep, descending price continues. But that is now negated. It went too deep, kind of even went beyond the initial impulse. So I'm not really sure what to expect right now. Only thing I can go by is this descending. So if price reverses up, it would be high probability to buy. We can also get a range or we can get a push down, in which case I would look to sell on an established trend. So that's about it for our pound. NJ, extremely range bound. Now it's not that bad even. So this may be a sign of accumulation or distribution or whichever you want to call it, however you want to call it. Basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for this. This is a nice uptrend. As a trend trader, this is golden. So after a nice impulse, we can get a range as we're getting here. Basically, the market makers or the bigger players are accumulating their positions. Market is moving flat, basically from a range into another range, but the range is getting tighter. What do I mean by getting tighter? Well, we can, let's say, take a line and then see how. Measure from the bottom to the top, and you can see that the range is definitely getting tighter. So the low of the range and the high of the range, you can see it's getting smaller and smaller. Let's say that this is the bottom, this is the top. So if things are getting tighter, then we can expect an explosion of momentum to the upside or to the downside. That's how it usually happens. So not really a warning sign, because this may be a sign of a trend that is really close by. So if you get a large push up, look to buy, large push down, look to sell. And I believe any move that happens and is sustained, and we get consecutive blue or consecutive red candles, will continue with nice momentum, because the longer the market ranges, and the longer the market ranges in such a flat range, the more momentum it will have in the move up or the move down. For example, imagine this, but 3 times bigger. That's just an example. That is why, as a trend trader, I do like to see these tight, flat ranges. So that will be it for the trade recap and forecast. Good luck with your trading the next week. I don't really think we will get any setups in the next few hours. Next week, we will see how the markets will develop. It's the last week of February, so potentially some trends will start. If they don't, we will keep following the plan, sitting on our hands. As we know, we look at the trading business on a quarterly or even on a yearly basis, and slow months happen, so just stick through it. The good trending months will definitely come, but we need to wait. That's it. See you guys in the next video.